So this is something that I'm curious to see as well. And on top of this roster as well, I'm curious to see what Coach Darrow has to say, Coach Youngin from the side of the esports. He's got a lot of these ideas to actually bring to the table. And the problem is, can this new reform roster of League esports can execute what he wants?
They need to adapt, right? I mean, they're such a young org, but again, like I said earlier, they have experience. But with this composition of 3 Singaporeans and 2 Filipinos, they're going to be clashing of styles. They need to work that out here, especially they are going up against a big organization such as Bren. So a lot of work needs to be put in, but I believe in their experience to just be united.
Actually, I think JPL might be Japanese. Like, he's Singaporean.
Maybe
yeah,
I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
No. He's Singaporean, but he has that Japanese blood in him. I think we talked about it before, and it was like, are you really Japanese? And it's like, you could guess. But speaking of guessing, I don't want to guess which team is coming up next because we're going to straight up introduce them. Let's introduce Ren Esports. All right, Brand Esports, I've seen them play quite recently in the SEA Games, but let's introduce them again. Flap TZ, Kyle TZ, Theo, Super Marco, as well as Ogwen.
Established names here, right? I mean, IC Baby, you know Flap, you know Ogwen. Perhaps here, Super Marco is the new young gun in this current position. But Brand Esports, Season 11, established a very good regular season. Ogwen got the regular MVP.
Yeah, but at the same time as well, Brand Esports, they weren't able to close out the series, actually qualify from the side of PH, which I would say led towards a lot of impression that because everyone kind of knows how Brand Esports played during the MPLBF, they were the biggest highlight at that time alongside with Blacklist International, of course. But of course, Brand Esports, they still have a lot of room to work with. So it all starts from here to whether or not can they actually make the next step. And in this case, I agree with a lot of us as well. Like our Doggy from the interview did say, like, Brand Esports is definitely the favorites here because of how experienced they are and competing at those top level plays. And in this case, League Esports has got a lot to actually catch up.
Yeah, you know what? I can't wait to see Master Ogwen play his own style. But speaking of which, you guys at home, we want to see what you're thinking, especially those of you at Twitch. Make sure you guys actually comment down below, like, who is going to win? We want to know your match prediction. And you know what? Give the score as well. You think it's going to be a 2-0, a 2-1? Either ways, we want to listen from you. We like you guys.
Exactly, we do. And at the same time, I really like you as well, Lafel. Yeah, I like you, Lafel. I just got straight up rejected.
Oh my god,
I just said I like you.
You done him dirty.
So you don't like me?
No, because Mirko was looking at me, and I'm like, oh, that cute face.
Oh, you've got a cute face.
Mute myself. Sorry.
You've got a cute face.
Oh my god.
You know what? Let's look at the predictions here. And looking at the predictions, I'm going for Bleed. You guys are going for Brad. You guys think it's a 2-0?
You know, personally, I'm a big fan of Lead Esports, but at the same time, it comes down to the same reason of why I didn't vote for the previous team, for Flash, because of the fact that you're still relatively new. If they were playing as a 5-man team who's got a lot of experience and consistency is great, but now bringing in imported players, I feel like even for Malaysia standards as well, for MPL Malaysia and Singapore, we are starting to see a lot of imported players, and all this has one problem. One, playstyle issues. Two, being communication issues as well. So I feel like these are things that can be avoided and needs a little bit more time to rework. So in this case, I feel like Brent definitely has the better one.
I mean, to add to that, right, my train of thought was pretty straightforward. It was just on paper, Bren, they're just a more solid and more efficient team if you compare it to Bleed, and that is why I went for Bren, and also that is also why I went for 2-0. It's just on paper, they're ahead if you compare it to Bleed.
You know, the difference between me and you guys, I believe.
You believe?
When I look at the teams, when I look at the players,
so
and I'm like,
Bleed rate?
And I'm like, you know what? A lot of people don't trust you.
All right.
But I got you. I trust you guys. You guys can make it happen. And if you don't make it happen, it's okay. Because sometimes in life, you just gotta let it happen. LaFell, 2023. Just let it happen.
Hold up.
That's some inspirational quote right there. You just went far deep.
Oh, that was not okay?
It was like a big, deep, like, you see this hole, you went, you dug the hole, and you went all the way deep,
No, it's totally philosophical because sometimes God has a different plan for you.
True.
Just let it happen.
Amen to that.
C'est la vie indeed. And it seems like we're going up to drafts here, Terrence. Perhaps any expectations?
You know, to be honest, I want to talk a little bit more on how the draft compositions comes towards both teams, right? Obviously, I do. But when it comes to Brand, they are one of the teams that are very, very creative to bring something new to the table. And they were one of the teams that actually brought in the Florin as well as the Joy during the MPLPH days, which kind of resulted in them taking a win against Blacklist International during that times. And I would say like not many teams kind of play around it, and I feel like Brand Esports, if they decide to pull this kind of strategy against Bleed Esports, they wouldn't be able to handle this unless Bleed Esports has done their research and homework.
Gani, can you imagine him talking up Brand? It's like, oh yeah, they're very creative, they're going to go for crazy picks, and then they just pick up the most standard draft as you can ever get.
It could happen.
Yeah, you know what? We're going straight into the pick and ban phase where Bleed is instantly going to ban out the Fanny. A lot of Fanny bans today.
Yeah, I feel like Fanny is such an annoying hero, especially after that grand final during
just
MSC.
ban you to Fanny.
Exactly. They want to play it safe. They want to play it straightforward. And assassin ban in the hands of Kyle Teasy. It's gonna be looking deadly. But Brand Esports responds with also a very efficient and meta ban here with that Arlen ban accompanied by that Lancelot ban.
You know, when it comes to the playstyles here, Bleed Esports still has very similar traits to how Flash does as well. They do lean onto the Kaja as well as the Cho pick. So I feel like if Brand Esports does not respect this Kaja, obviously Bleed Esports is going to be leaning on towards first picking goes Kaja once again and then play from there. But in terms of power picks here, Joy obviously is going to be respected from side of Brand Esports. Arlott as well means that there is still going to be the Frederick going to be up for grabs. There is still potentially the Novara as well going to be in the pool. So I feel like Bleed Esports might not prioritize the Novara top one, probably in the second pick here. But, you know, anything goes. This is our first time going to be seeing Bleed Esports from a while, if you think about it.
Personally, for me, I've watched JPL play so many times. And every single time I see him in a team, all I can think of is just follow your name. Just pick and lock. As long as he gets a hero that locks someone down, like there was even a moment where he was just like, you know what? I'm just going to pick the Jawhead. Doesn't matter what happens, I'm just picking the Jawhead. He will make it work. Because I kind of don't like when he uses this like enchanter style, you know, like supporting the team. I want to make sure that he can pick someone off, he can lock someone down. That's the kind of player that I've known JPL to be, and I kind of want him to stick to his guns.
Yeah, I think that he should stick with his playstyle here, especially in that first game, right? Going up against Brand, they need to somehow show their power, show their dominance. Now, with that Yves ban, though, it opens up a lot, but it seems like Bleed, they will commit to this mid lane. Valentina, I like it, but I gotta agree with you, Icy Baby. I think they should pick up the Kaja.
It's
so
something
weird calling you baby, by the way.
Icy Baby.
It's
Let's
okay.
just call him Icy.
You can call me baby anytime.
No, I just call him Terrence.
Cringe.
Hey, you know, you guys cringe, but
You owe me
it
a
worked.
coffee.
It worked.
Okay,
It worked.
All right.
okay.
But yeah, but coming to the drafts as well, you know, Kaja is still in the pool, something that Brand Esports can actually lean into. But at the same time, when it comes to their drafts here, do they want to go for the Frederick pickup, very similar to how Archives Esports kind of drafted around as well? Or maybe even just bring in the Yves or maybe Novaria as well, because of the fact that if they go for the Novaria, the ultimate coming in, being stolen, yeah, it's great. You've got like slows, you've got a bigger hitbox, but it doesn't bring out the damage that Valentina needed. But at the same time, they deny the Kaja pick away from Bleed.
You know what? Looking at the bans, we got to look at a pattern here because Bleed, they're betting out heroes that can go to the backline. The Kadita, the Lancelot, as well as the Fanny. Now having the Kaja kind of does the same thing, even though the Kaja cannot get an immediate kill, but it still gives that kill pressure. So now I want to see if Bleed, after seeing the Kaja, will they change their draft a little bit? At this point, not going to lie, I'm kind of okay if they pick up the Akai.
Okay.
Yeah.
First phase Akai pick. That kill pressure when you have that Akai. But at the same time, I think
Hey, just pick and lock. Lock.
Oh, that's
What
pretty
you
good.
talk?
I love the synergy here. The Malay.
Novaria is very hard to pick off though because you can go inside of walls and I will wait for you to dive to the back.
True.
That's what I meant.
Well, this is love censoring yourself, don't you?
EXP bans actually.
4, you're right. 4 will build tank, and that carry can't.
It denies all their AoE CC composition to do. It, which
And it does because you're like Leslie, and then not speaking of wanting to be wrong, pretty sure Mirko
In this best of 3, it's time for get the assassins early on to go for it. So now we're already seeing a little bit of an engage early on as well. Bren, they need to stay out of this laning because both lanes in mid and gold, they're really going to struggle.
Yep, that's the story of the draft so far. Brainy Sports want to protect Super Marco, and they can pick fights, not just quite yet. And it was mentioned on our desk, our panels, that they want to protect Marco here. They want to go ahead and poke out, and I think the keyword is re-engage. Throughout the mid to the late, if they want to get good fights, they have to make sure that Marco's set up. They want to make sure that Ogwin catches the right target and protects that backline. You have JPL, you have Sagitnu looking out for him, and I think that's something that we haven't mentioned much, the fact that these two imports are going to introduce a little bit more of aggression when it comes to Bleed's playstyle. We last saw them in MPLSG.
I think the snowball is definitely what's going to help Bleed take control of the game because they really need to look for that snowball. Maybe not around the XP lane, but definitely around this gold lane. Super Marco, I was really confused. I think we had an off-camera discussion about why the Leslie was picked into a Melissa lane, but it seems like both teams are already setting up for the first turtle.
Yep, no pull quite yet, and it looks like Deck is setting it up. There's a knock-up on to Sagitnu. There's a jump by Flap.
All right, split. Now that's going to be the Flicker. Divine Judgment bringing him back. First blood for few. Deck trying to go for the retreat battle right now. VJ jumps in with a stolen Brave Spider, but it is still going to be Kyle Teasy as Flap picks up the kill. It is a 3-for-0 trade technically with it.
That has been set up, and the big win here is off camera. Super Marco was winning the idol ng mga kids. I love it. Picking up the Novari here just throws back to his roots. Homie used to play a mean Selena. Back when Selena wasn't even a roamer, wasn't a mid laner, he was an assassin. And this Astral Meteor, just perfect for few.
It really is perfect. It feels like the hero was built for these long-range mages, especially the ones who want to go and poke down, who have a lot of game knowledge to utilize the Astral Recall and everything, technically, with JPL now. Jumping with the way the Dragon, going to be able to lock people down. The Divine Judgment by Kill VJ, stealing it away, but Flap Teasy, all the way from the XP lane, jumps forward with a Brave Spider. Kyle Teasy picks up the kill, and it's Brent still winning on the board here in the trade. But I do have a big concern. Again, the Melissa in lane up against the Leslie. The fact that he is losing lane, getting shoved in and getting frozen, this is not going to be good at all. As a Melissa player myself, when I'm up against a Navaria, it's already hell for me as a Melissa with low mobility. If you're losing lane as well, this Melissa, if you don't get those 3 items, Power Spike, it's over.
Yep, and that changes the dynamic. Again, Brainy Sports found their window, and they set up for what you would expect the Melissa to do well against the Leslie, especially since Super Marco hasn't really built up yet. His emblem spells out what he wants to do. He wants to be able to build damage items and eventually scale to the mid-game Power Spike. But here, 4 minutes in, Brainy Sports are already barreling over about 2K gold lead. And I have a theory, right? Bleedy Sports, they've picked up Sagitnu and KLVJ for what? The better part of 2 weeks now? And that's being generous. Thinking that every day of the past 14 days have been productive scrims. It looks like they're of two minds. Sagitnu and KL want to be aggressive. The other 3, they're kind of tempering their expectations here. Turtle take here, clean for Brainy Sports. They engage.
Yeah, you say that. The chemistry or the synergy from Bleed Esports is a bit off here in this game. Meanwhile, it's literally the complete polar opposite from Brent. They know exactly what they want to do at every given moment of the game. You can see earlier as well, Kyle not really getting threatened at all in the turtle take, sends Flap Teasy over to the purple buff, forcing a retreat out from deck, and they're taking control of every single lane despite having losing matchups.
That's right, and even taking that small camp, and this all adds up. About a minute ago, we said 2K. Now Brent 2.5K ahead. I can only imagine what is going on with Super Marco. But wait, there's a pull.
Flicker Divine Judgment. Deck might just fall here. Pops into Deadly Catch. Is able to disengage right now. Bleed are trying to push the pace, but it's a bit too late as a 2.5K gold lead is already built up. That's a lockdown from Kyle Teasy, and Few picks up the Hill. KillVJ's waiting in that bush, looking for a little cheeky steal, gets the Lethal Wanderer, but the fact that the Leslie is given this much space in lane is already disastrous for Bleed.
Berserker's Fury and a Legion Sword already on Super Marco. You can see that he is almost 1,000 ahead of his lane mate. So yeah, FMM only has the Corrosion Scythe, and you need to plant yourself for said Corrosion Scythe to make much of a dent in what you're trying to do. And because of that, there was an off-cam turret take clean for Brenny Sports. So yeah, I think what's going to happen next, Super Marco's going to rotate out unless they want to continue give FMM hell. And then even mid's going to get compromised here. Look at how low this tier 1 has become.
I think initially the plan was maybe the lane swap, but the fact that the Leslie's already doing so well, we already mentioned this early on. As long as the Leslie survives in lane, gets to that Berserker's Fury, I mean, to be honest, get to that BOD. Once you have that BOD, you're pretty much fine. You can actually win trades against the Melissa pretty comfortably, and that's what he's able to do so far in the 6th minute of the game. Ogwen can see already looking to find Judgment, but JPL cancels it out with Away the Dragon. Now it's going to be FMM jumping forward with the Inspire still, holding on to it, but there you go, the snipes coming down. JPL getting gunned down all the way from the mid lane as Brenny Sports push forward, going for the siege, and with this composition, this was why they went for it.
Oh, wow, that's 2 turrets, 2 turtles, 1 kill traded out for, yes, but so far this is as winning as it gets so far here in the challenge season of SPS. Now Ogwen, there's a threat, there's a jump in by Flap, go away!
Good go away, but he knows exactly that, you know, it's a Melissa. No mobility. We can completely punish her just by Flap jumping with the bravest fighter.
Gunned and outmanned. There is a massive gold lead here, 5,000 affording Super Marco that aforementioned Blade of Despair already in. Currently about 1,600 gold ahead of his lane mate FMM. Not to mention, throughout that whole engage down bottom, Kyle DZ was going for the turtle off camera. So yeah. Even with a 4v5 situation, Brenny Sports are able to go ahead and push the advantage. And look, did they force a purple steal?
I think no, with the slam pass, snipes from downtown. Phew, getting a good Astral Meteor. Super Marco just seems to get outranged again. Well, on a Melissa, once you get outranged, it's already
speaks for itself, right? That's Super Marco just having a time of his life. The past 8.5 minutes have been a breeze, and that's an understatement because even JPL is wondering, like, oh, can I even consider this? And I think that's one thing that Bleed are also short on. It's hard for them to tell where Brenny Sports are. They are lacking vision, and not to mention, I've been keeping this for the past 5 minutes now, 6 minutes. The amazing damage coverage that Brenny Sports has. A few alone, rocking just 2 items here with the Enchanted Talisman and the COD. That's enough magic damage to force out the Cho to actually build up an Athena shield. He only has a pair of pants to try and stop Flap, Marco, and Kyle TZ. Not to mention, Flap deals true damage on the Leslie. So this allows the map to just be cracked wide open. A free Lord, and now Flap TZ jumps in. No one home. Bleed knows. Oh, wait!
Divine Judgment, Sagitnu caught off guard, and yes, that true damage from Super Marco. 3-0 and 0. It's a killing spree for him, and conveniently enough, I'm also a Leslie player. So honestly, looking at this dynamic, look at the synergy as another Astral Meteor connects from Few from downtown. KillVJ not risking, not wanting to go for the Divine Judgment, and he stole from himself. That's a 4-man reveal from Few, as they're going to be able to shove Bleed back from the tier 2, picking it up for free. But again, back to my point, Leslie, Novaria. Leslie alone. Sometimes you struggle against the opening, the vision control.
Most lanes, yeah.
Exactly. And now you add on to Few on the Novaria as well. It's basically an open map from level 4 onwards.
Yeah, and not to mention Ogwin took care of Marco very well in the first 5 minutes, even putting himself on the line. Again, the only death for Brenny Sports in this 10-minute bout. And with this 10-minute bout, you're looking at a 10K gold lead, and there's a jump in.
Divine Judgment, Flicker combo, JPL gonna be picked off here, 0, 5, and 1. Not a good stat line for him, but Bleed, they're really looking for a desperate play. They have to go for a big one. Flapteezy with the conceal already now with the Bravest Fighter as well. Going for the anti-CCS kill. VJ isn't able to find anyone. That's the stun from Flap, and Few snipes him from downtown. Mid lane, base turret taken down. Bren Esports looking to convert onto more objectives, and Bleed have nothing to say about this. It's just going to be a free 3 base turret siege for Bren.
It is scalpel precision with the strength of a brute force blunt object. Brain Sports just barreled on through, and they have broken the 1,000 gold per minute lead bracket. It's ridiculous. Look, 12K now, and we're not even 12 minutes. So that means every single time Brenny Sports makes a step, they're taking 2 steps forward, and that reflects in all of their items. Even Ogwin outclasses even the mid laner from Bleed. Not even. I wouldn't say. That's an understatement. Them bleeding is maybe a 6K, 5K gold lead.
Yeah.
This is brutality, what's happening here. And Brenny Sports, they're not even sweating. I think so far, there have been very few moments in this 11, 12-minute game wherein Brenny Sports had to go, all right, let's back off. They've always gone for what they needed to get, and every concealed play resulted in something. That concealed play resulted in all of the inhibitors going down. So Bleedy Sports, I guess they're only looking for one thing, really, a pickoff on the Marco. But no, with this concealed play!
JPL is done for. That's a Divine Judgment to lock him down. And Bren Esports, they have just basically gone a pick right as the Lord spawns in. So, no, they're not. They don't want to just end it with a brutality. They want to convert it into a fatality with the Lord and with maybe, perhaps, a 13,000 gold lead by the time this game ends. It's another free Lord. And again, Bleed, they can't do anything. They pop the conceal. There's always going to be an Astral Recall. There's always going to be a lot of vision. And even without the Novaria, the Leslie, you still have Ogwen just sitting on these bushes around enemy jungle.
That's right.
And Flap, not even Kyle. The tanky members are too tanky for anyone to burst down.
Best case scenario, and again, this is the easiest of the circumstances that Bleed can get, right? You pick off Ogwen maybe 2 or 3 times in a row. You catch him off guard. Sure, if you're lucky, you get one on Few, shut him down, maybe even take down Super Marco. But that's, again, you mentioned the 3 bodyguards between Flap, Ogwin, and Kyle Teasy. It's just not going to happen. And now, with this Luminous Lord marching in, 3 men revealed with the Astral Echo. Lord's going to crash in, and there's a jump!
Flicker, Divine Judgment once again from Ogwin, picking it off deck. Now it's going to be Sagitno who flickers forward now, but Super Marco keeping the position. Meanwhile, the Lord might just go for the end right now. Flap Teasy jumps in with the Bravest Fighter, still able to sustain, but he finally falls as FMM finds some damage, but Super Marco is hungry for the damage, goes in for the kills in the end. And it's Bren Esports with a 1-0 lead in match 2.
I know that we've only really had one series, but currently this is the fastest game in the challenge season
13-25.
of the SBS. Yes, and 2 to 15 here. There was one more kill towards the end on Flap Teasy, but I don't think Flap is sad in any ways. He's in the top 3 of the damage leaders and top 3 in the gold leaders. So yeah, this Lapu Lapu was doing more than just his duty. He was pulling doubles here to make sure that his opposite lane mate or his teammate in Marco was getting as easy of a life as it gets for a gold laner, even against the Melissa, which you set up very well, and that's what resulted in this brutal victory, this fatal win by Brenny Sports.
It starts from the beginning, right? The fact that they have a winning lane, but they do not utilize the winning lane. I would argue that Bren, gave up on the gold lane to just play around the XP lane, giving Super Marco a solo time, which was not good against the Melissa, but Bleed didn't capitalize on that. They didn't try to utilize what is winning them the game in the early to mid.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure our analysts spotted some things that we didn't. And again, the very fast 13-minute game. LaFell and the gang, talk us through.
Thank you very much. By the way, Leo said duty. That was a very quick game. 13 minutes, 25 seconds. Probably one of the biggest goal gaps in the game. Like, at this point, sure, we're going to do our analysis, but I almost want to say it's pretty clear cut.
Yeah, I agree as
Getting
well.
a speed.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's Bleed Esports. But at the same time, I want to talk a little bit more into the ideas that is going through with Bleed as well as Brand Esports' mind. Because Brand Esports, they have a very clear cut here. They have a, I would say, a poking composition where they pretty much outrange Bleed Esports in terms of all their skills. And on top of it, in terms of power spike for the junglers as well, Bane, if they don't really snowball in early game, Bane doesn't contribute in terms of a lot of damage in towards the mid towards the later stage game unless he transitions towards a hybrid build or maybe even full switch into the damage once you reach towards the later stage game.
I mean, furthermore, right, even talking about from the drafts, if you remember the second phases of bans, it was the Yu Zhong and the Terizla. Why? They are setting up for that less not effective because they have support that can cover for Super Marco. Take a look at the post-game.
Here you can see that Bleed Esports, obviously they are the ones that take a little bit more damage, but I also want to highlight the fact that the itemization coming from Bleed Esports was extremely greedy. They wanted to play this poke composition, focus on objectives. So what I mean by objectives is that they want to take advantage of this deadly catch, but in terms of greed as well, Kelv J actually went for the Clock of Destiny as a first item choice, trying to take advantage of this Eternal Gem buff to kind of sustain the lanes and trying to force fights. But Brand Esports is saying like, I don't care, I'm just going to be in your face and just wipe your face. We're not going to play this poke strategy. We're just going to go in with Kaja, Divine Judgment, and then just pick people off.
Honestly, there is quite a lot that I want to talk about the very first game of this series, which we're going to touch on just a little bit later, perhaps even during the draft, because I actually want to take something that the caster said where it looks like Sagitno as well as KillVJ, they're on the same page. The rest aren't. So it's instead of like a 5v5, it's like 5 going against 3+2.
Yep.
So perhaps some disconnect there. But for now, we got to talk about the MVP of the game. And the MVP is going over to Few, 3-0-11, 93% kill participation. And I gotta say, I kind of feel like the mid trio for both teams, I kind of feel like the game was decided in the first 3 minutes.
I mean, indeed, first 5 minutes, it was a 2,500 gold gap as well. So that is already an uphill to climb. But Few, very effective, very optimal, always rotating towards that gold lane. And let's see the replay here.
Yeah, based on this replay here, you can see Bleed Esports, they don't really have the position to contest this. There was a little bit of miscommunication coming in from JPL as well as KFJ, but Brand Esports, they understood that they can outrange. And the moment if Bleed Esports commit into their territory, that is where Brand Esports will shine. And time again, you can see Brand Esports is always forcing Bleed Esports to overcommit their stay and overextend instead of actually forcing Bleed Esports to back off instead. So it feels like Bleed Esports was struggling to force Brand Esports to commit to them because that is where their skills are within their reach. If they counter-engage, Bleed Esports will be stronger, but every single time, Brand Esports is denied them that opportunity.
For Brand, honestly, the map is never dark. The fact that they have the Novaria as well as the Leslie should be more than enough to get you like 80% of the vision throughout the game. But the thing is, when you have a Lapu Lapu as well as a Fredrin that you could basically invade the team's jungle, and you have the Kaja as well, just to be like, okay, if anyone gets caught by JPL, I got you. I can make this trade more profitable for us. So overall, I would have to say, Brand, very good teamwork, but the draft as well, it just allows them to have amazing vision throughout the game. I can't say the same thing for Bleed because I kind of feel like JPL, he wants to get pickoffs, but he just can't find the targets.
Funny you should say JPL. If you notice, Few was on a Purify, but I have not seen that game. Few tap that Purify, so that spell was a little bit of a waste, but it's very effective, right? He wants to play safe, he respects the pick-up potential, but I have not seen Few use that Purify that game.
Yeah, again, congratulations to Brand Esports winning the first game in this best of 3. Again, that was a very quick match, a lot of goal difference. We have to see whether it will continue in game number 2, because I kind of feel like game number 1, Bleed more or less played with their comfort, but the thing is, they're not allowed to play their composition. Everyone was losing their lane.
Yeah, I feel like they are trying to adapt to the strategies from the side of Brand Esports, right? Brand Esports from the get-go, Novaria, blah, blah. These are all the heroes that have very, very long range in terms of poke strategy. But the problem is that composition is designed to poke at heroes. Bleed, however, tried to adapt by like, hey, you know what? We're gonna bring in the Bane to try and poke at objectives. So they were eyeing for the fact that they needed a snowball for this Bane in order to enable it, which unfortunately got denied right from the get-go from the first hurdle onwards.
It's very hard looking at the composition to execute. Sure, it's somehow straightforward, right? You want to pick off with that Cho, with that also the hero that just good with pickoffs, but again, the kiting potential from the side of Bren was just evident in that game. Very hard. And I mean, Leo mentioned that 12 minutes in, 10 minutes in was a 12,000 gold gap. So,
yeah,
man, that's just hard.
Here's
already.
the thing. We look at the composition from Bren. It's all about just getting from point A to point B.
Yep.
If you want to make sure you get from point A to point B, we got to say thank you very much to DHL. And again, I got to give a quick shout out for all of you guys watching because something is going on here. And what is going on is the FEBot Dash Cup. Win 5,000 euros. All you guys got to do is actually go to esl.gg/FEBot to join. Quick shout out again, thank you very much to DHL. Moving back into the conversation between both teams, what can they do now? What do they have to adjust?
Ooh, okay. Personally, I feel like Bleed Esports, the first thing they're gonna adjust is their drafts for sure. They're trying to adapt to their opponents a little bit more rather than play towards their comfort zone. I feel like they are still playing a little bit more comfort here, pick off composition, but the Bane felt like it was forced for the fact that, hey, you know what? If you're trying to play Nova, going for this kind of poke, I am going to try and chip at your towers. However, it was never able to actually do that because of the fact that, you know, based on this draft, you can see up on screen that they don't really have heroes that can actually zone that. And every single time JPL was trying to threaten it, you brought up as well, vision control coming from Bren Esports is just so much better compared to Bleed Esports because of the fact that Bren knows where they are. We know how to get the jump ahead of time. If they're isolated, boom, instantly Divine Judgment come in, someone dies immediately.
Honestly, I just want to open up the conversation. How can you make sure that Super Marco doesn't win his lane that hard?
I think, surface value, I think someone needs to babysit him. But then again, sometimes rotating towards your gold lane, babysitting your gold lane can cause trouble for your other three teammates, right? So it's very tricky. I mean, from the drafts here, I feel like Bren has already has a understanding on how they want to execute it, how they're just dictating the draft. And I feel like in game 2, yeah, Bleed Esports, they need to figure something out fast if they really want to stop this train.
I also just want to bring up, I kind of feel like for them to adapt in this game, learn to choose your battles because there are quite a few times where they're trying to contest for the turtle.
Yep.
I think the positioning wasn't that great and it caused them to make a lot of mistakes. And I saw in the bottom lane where 3 members of Bleed tried to force out the turret, you know, trying to chunk it down as fast as they can. But it just gave time for Ogwen to eventually get there and then get some kills for the team. So I kind of feel like they got to make sure they understand where they can actually win the battles and don't force the fight where Bren themselves wanted in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing about overextension, right? You know, playing into their favor and taking into their own territory. And so far, every single time Bren has won the fight is because of the fact that Bleed took the initiative to dive into their favor. But if Bren decide to dive into their favor, then it's going to be counterintuitive. However, like I said as well, power spike on Bane is very questionable when it comes to tank Banes. Early game, you have some sort of damage, but as you go to the mid game, you don't really have a lot. You're just a big squid running around. You soak some damage, you do a little bit of stuns here and there, but you don't really contribute a lot of damage compared to a Frederick who comes in, taunts you, oh, I soak some damage. You know what? Let's one punch you. Somebody's going to die. One big fat cone, everyone is going to die.
I mean, especially if you're a Bane tank and you're under. The position was just so very hard for Bleed Esports to make something out of nothing. And it seems like Bren Esports, again, they understood that. They played disciplinedly. Only a couple of deaths were taken from their side. A perfect game coming from the side of Bren. I want to see more. Can they stay consistent in the second game, or will Bleed Esports manage to kidnap?
Honestly, the thing about Bren is they're good at hemorrhaging their opponents. And they just get salt and they just add it to the wound because Bleed did not seem like there was any crack in the defense of Bren. So even the early game, if you mess that one up, is not going to be looking too good. We're going to jump into the draft very, very soon where, again, picking up the Valentina is great. Picking up the
Yep.
glue is great. There are opportunities where you can win the lane, but I'm gonna agree with the casters here. You gotta play around that as well, which is going back into my own point about picking your battles, picking the battles that you can actually win, because it does seem like they're a little bit unsure of who's winning and who's losing.
Yeah, I agree. You know, when it comes to who's winning and losing, it feels like when it comes to Bleed Esports, that final pick of Leslie kind of
Throw them off.
disrupted and throw them
Yeah,
off because of
agreed.
the fact that JPL is supposed to be like setting up this kind of plays, but how can he do so where one ultimate from a Leslie pretty much reveals the position of JPL not once but multiple times? I think one of it as well, JPL was actually caught off because of the fact that the moment he was revealed, everyone from Brand just jumped in and harassed him out.
Well, see here from the second game, what will the draft be? Brand Esports will have the blue side here opting again, banning out that Eve just like they did in that first game. So it seems like Brand here, they're cooking something up for, yeah, we don't want to deal with the Eve.
I kind of feel like they just want a composition where we saw just now a very brute force heavy, not the item, but meaning like the way that they play. They just want to charge in. Basically, Eve is pretty good against fighters as well as tanks. They probably just want a lot of that and then give a lot of space for Super Marco. In this kind of situation, banning out the Joy is pretty okay, and Brand, they're gonna ban the Kajam themselves, which for me does show that they don't want to first pick it, but they completely understand the damage of a second pick Kaja can be.
I feel like in terms of priority, they still prioritize Fredrin a little bit higher because they're on the first pick,
Novaria.
right? So it's either Novaria or Fredrin, which is a good call there. But I feel like because of the Eve and Kaja, it feels like they are leaning a little bit more on Fredrin because of the fact that Fredrin needs those mobility. The real mobility kind of denies that. If you get caught on it here, you're just going to be stuck here with a lot of slow. So I guess they're leaning a little bit more. I might be wrong, but it's just my tell. But Kadita, similar bans once again from Bleed Esports.
Yeah.
Probably just making sure that in the game, FMM and KLVJ will have a pretty okay time. Because the thing
space.
about the Kaja, the Kadita as well as the Joy, they just don't care about who's in front. And not gonna lie, it's kind of helping out Brand as well because their composition is about having a pretty strong front line, and then everyone else from behind has a free time. So in a way, Bleed's ban is helping out Brand as well.
I completely agree with that. I mean, Brand Esports can definitely exploit that Kadita ban. And looking at their last ban, it's going to be the Fredrin. So
Oh,
I personally
okay.
feel it's going to be, yeah, they're prioritizing the Novaria here. Question is, Bleed Esports, will they,
Ouch.
yeah, are they forced to ban the Novaria out? Because remember, first game, Few got the MVP.
This is really smart because if you're talking about two prior picks here, 1-1 is also in the pool as well, and Fanny as well. So these are things that Bleed Esports, they need to decide. Do they ban the Fanny? If they do, Novaria as well as 1-1 is going to be out for grabs. Brand Esports, pretty sure they are going to lean a little bit more on that 1-1 potentially. I might be wrong, but this is posed a very, very big question of Bleed Esports. How do you want to play this tempo? Because if one of these heroes lead into as Brand Esports, means that you need hard heroes that can actually deal with potentially a Fanny or maybe even a 1-1 as well to a certain degree, which kind of goes against their usual playstyle of going for the Cho. But no, Valentina gets banned out instead, so they are leaving it open.
Here's the thing. I'm looking at the mid lane. Eve gets banned out. Valentina gets banned out. The Kadita gets banned out. Novaria is a pretty good pick. You can pick it now. The Kaja is not there as well, but they're picking up the Arlet. Now I'm just thinking, what other mid lane heroes are they looking at? Because the Pharsa might be good, but you gotta make sure that you're safe.
Yeah.
The if the Lancelot is there, if the Yuzong is there, it's not gonna be a fun time for the Pharsa.
Yeah, I feel like Brand Esports needs to withdraw with backstand that mage pick. But it seems like Bleed now. Question, right? Arlet, sure, very strong in the lane. What do you want to do? Do you want to contest in that EXP, or do you want to just pick a hero that is just hold off that lane and somehow passive EXP laner? But it seems like Bleed can definitely pick up the Novaria here to take it away from the hands of Few.
I think denying it away will be a safer pick as well. It's definitely a no-brainer to actually go for it, but I feel like they're still afraid of the potential Fanny pickup, which Brand Esports may pick it up, but no, they don't go for the Novaria. They bring in the Faramis and the Martis, and seems like they are afraid that Brand Esports might bring the glue as well, so I think with the Faramis, glue is pretty much out of the equation. I don't think it's a big prio, but you know, Faramis just destroys glue every single time Swiftly comes in.
I mean, the Arlet is there as well. So,
True. I don't think it's gonna happen too.
Yeah. Honestly, the Faramis pick I think it is just because the Eve is not there. Because it's
Okay.
kind of not fun to play the Feramis into the Eve. And another thing as well, there is potential that what Bleed is thinking is that Brand kind of wants to play pickoff, because Feramis can kind of counter that with the Altar, but you kind of always have to be all around the map. Very interesting pick here for the Feramis, but this does leave Novaria open. Is there any excuse for Few not to pick it up? No, there's not. He's just going to pick it up.
Oh!
With the Minotaur as well. Novaria, again, outranges Feramis, so sure. So, again, that Feramis not going to have a good time in that head-to-head. To add to that, they add another hero that can soak in a lot of damage, can cause a lot of destruction during 5v5.
Three things here. Three things.
Tell me.
Number one, Astral Echo, slowing down opponents as well as increasing their hitbox. Gonna be great for Minotaur. Gonna ensure that Minuin Free actually hits everyone. So that's number one. Number two, if you want to dive into Bren, are you seriously going to dive against a Minotaur and an Arlet? It's not gonna work well. You need some kind of range to deal with this. And number three, Arlet loves it. When your opponent is gonna get stunned up, it's gonna be very easy for him to proc the Vengeance every single time.
Oh, they go for the Beatrix instead. I was expecting them to actually lock down the glue, which is something that they're comfortable as well. Because if here's a little bit fun fact as well, SPS from Season 1 as well, we have seen a lot of high win rate percentage with Feramis and glue as a composition, as a two-way ticket to try and isolate players and then take them out. So this is something that I was very surprised that Bleed didn't go for it. But at the same time, if they go for it, means that, you know, Bren can decide to pick the Fanny later on. Means that, you know, if you force the Kufra, it kind of counter against your composition of trying to play this push and pull effect. Because Kufra goes in, you're all in, and you're no way out.
Yeah, carry. Perhaps that 1-1 is also up and available, but they will definitely ban out that Melissa. So again, limiting the marksman, because Super Marco in that first game was also a beast. Now, Brand Esports here, looking at their composition, that Minotaur, man, can catch you off guard, because the second skill can heal you. So if you go for all ends and miscalculate, yeah, Brand Esports is going to punch you back.
Honestly, this might be premature, but the first three picks of Bren, I'm loving it. I'm
Pretty scary.
I'm already on board. Having Arlet S tier, Novaria S tier. Minotaur is just there to kind of like provide support. So the draft is pretty good. I kind of feel like the Beatrix is there as well, because ultra late game 4-item Beatrix is going to be pretty strong, and there is an option for Beatrix to play a little bit more range with both the Renner as well as the Nibiru. If needed, can use the Bennett as well. So betting out the Melissa, great idea. Going up against the Feramis, everyone wants to clump up. Melissa likes when you're clumped up, so that's down. The Claude is going to be hella annoying, but they're taking out the Fanny.
Oh my god, I thought for a second they were gonna ban the Cloud because of the Cloud Altar, but they brought in the Fan. Allows this Feramis to kind of excel in what it does in terms of clumping out fights. So this is gonna be a big problem for them, because eventually, because they ban off the Fanny, Claude is in this equation to just say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna bring a Assassin jungle, a higher booster to a certain degree, maybe even a Lancelot as well, to just cut the back lines, and just there's nothing really you can do about it from Bleed Esports.
And one hero that Bleed can play around with that last pick is Atlas, right? I mean, Brand Esports, they ban out that Diggy, and they haven't picked up the one, but no, they commit to a Franco here, not towards that last pick. So they're saving up that flexibility, because Marcus can play the XP. So I feel like they're playing it rather safely here. Let's see what will Brand Esports bring out to the table. They need DPS. Claude.
Okay, I think Claude is definitely a safer pick to actually go for it, but I'm curious to see whether or not can they find those opportunities, because in terms of jungler, I don't think this is jungle Mino, right? I don't think this is going to be the case. But when it comes to
it could.
It could, but I don't think think so. I'm personally not a big fan of it, but knowing the Philippines, they love their jungle minnows, which is weird.
But I kind of
hate
feel
it.
like this is going to be a roam minnow, especially because there's so much options in the jungle. Fine, but again, Balman did get buff, making it so that even if you build tanky, your lethal counter will hurt a lot. It doesn't change the dynamic of the turtle as well as the Lord take, but the damage on the heroes is going to be quite a lot, especially when you have the Novaria as well as the Brody. They're going to be chunking a lot of the HP down, so it's going to be very easy for the Balman to hit the lethal counter.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the last pick here, again, looking at the composition from Brent, I'm thinking, what is the loophole here that Bleed can definitely exploit? But looking at the composition, they have someone that can soak in damage. They have DPS. They have also burst. Masha is their perhaps saving grace here. I don't know how it will play out. So with the Masha, they want to win that EXP.
You know what? I'm loving the draft from Bren. What do you guys think?
I like Bren as well.
Me too. Me too.
Like they're forcing the draft a little bit more from Bleed with the Masha pickup. Like just because they need somebody to tank even more.
Well, with that being said, we're gonna throw it over to Lyoko because I don't know, man. This draft, I'm not feeling too good.
Thank you so much, Lafel, Agani, and Terrence. Lyoko here at your service. How local was that draft?
That was pretty loco, man. It was crazy loco because, again, it really feels like Brent were able to force out a lot of these crazy picks from Bleed, even the Masha towards the end. We completely understand the Masha pick. We were actually hovering over the Yuzong, the Lampu, but the Masha is really good against the Brody, as a Brody player myself. So what about you, Leo? What do you think about the drafts?
I think it's better than Game 1, definitely. Talking about how Bleedy Sports just was not presenting much. But for Bren, I like how they're pushing the envelope here, how they're showing us something new, given that we were expecting Lancelot, right?
Yeah.
But now it's Kyle Teasy rocking this Balmond, which we saw very sparingly in the last major tournament that was MSC. Now getting into the Land of Dawn, it's a purple mirror start for both of them. And you can see the Balmond is a little faster here. I'm worried about that Martis though, because a Martis that doesn't snowball, that doesn't find the right target after each target that he kills, basically isn't worth much. So looking at Brenny Sports, the only real one you can jump from is Few, and Few is so great at using space.
You know, fun fact, last time I saw a Balman pick in my ranked games was back when I was in the Legend. And you guys can get your Legend tickets right now because it's the only one available. As Flatteasy gets a double stun, Brent should be able to find this Lethal Wanderer. That's a good retreat from Calteasy to go and collapse onto Bleed, trying to go for more invades. But I think we had a little bit of a discussion as well, Leo, about the matchups here for the gold lane, especially. Beatrix versus Brody, we said it is a skill matchup.
It's a 50-50. You just press the buttons better, you place yourself better on the map, and you can win. And I think that's what's happening here. Super Marco. Look, he's pushing him out. He's getting those stacks in.
Yeah, Beatrix definitely has he has an okay time if you just go for the farm, but you gotta remember that you need to just last hit. If you shove the wave, Brody will have control. Once Brody freezes the wave, which Super Marco is doing right now, there's not much counterplay to it unless, obviously, you get a second guy down below into the gold lane, which is right now JPL. And I think if they want to switch things up, this is the game to do so. They want to get the Beatrix into that mid-game power spike as fast as possible to get this Brody and try to shut him down. Because if he gets snowballed, if he gets the turrets, it can be over in the 4th, 5th minute.
Yep, which is a throwback to Game 1. In Game 1, Brenny Sports just did so well to open up the map for Super Marco. And here, looks like Bleed is off to a better start here. On the right foot, if we will. Now, so get new spots, shenanigans, Turtle gets taken, and it looks like there's not much. He's going to survive this, most likely. But to no avail, is this what we expected from the Masha? Is this what they wanted to do here in the XP lane?
I think it is sort of what they wanted to do, but the thing is, you need to have instant synergy when it comes to that. If you have a Masha distracting, you need to have the members on the other side of the map ready, prepared to go for a trade. And unfortunately here, Deck was just not on the same page. He did not go for the orange buff fast enough, and he actually focused on his purple buff. Meanwhile here, Calteasy with an invaded cheeky one. He's going to fall. First blood to Bleed Esports, and the Masha is already doing really, really good early on.
All right. this is definitely uncharacteristic of Brenny Sports, especially seeing what they did in Game 1. What was Kyle TZ doing in that deep? Was there not enough information on the map saying, hey, there could be 2 or 3 Bleed members roaming around, and this is a dangerous invade, this is a dangerous steal? He tried to commit Grand Theft Orange to no avail. That was a wasted rotation there. Definitely a win for Bleed.
He got caught by the cops. 1-star
That's
cop
right.
run.
That was a 1-star wasted, man.
That was.
If you know that it's not very good.
I think it's like, he thinks he has a sports car because, he's an assassin player. He's very mobile.
That's right.
But in that situation, again, this is why we kind of mentioned it's a bit uncharacteristic to see Kyle on a utility jungler.
That's right.
Especially something like a Balman with very, very low mobility and very low playmaking potential.
Yeah, he was actually buffed or reconfigured in the last big patch, and it doesn't affect much of his farming. So in that moment when he was farming and there was not much follow through, because again, lethal counter was buffed as well, there was nothing. There was no reason for Kyle to be that deep in. So I'm hoping Brenny Sports can, for the sake of their victory here, repair that and then fix that communications breakdown, or for Bleed take advantage so we make it to Game 3, because again, it's not perfect. Brenny Sports are not flawless as they seemed in Game 1. Now, with the pull, Brent's still 500 gold ahead. JPL and FMM revealed. I'm wondering what's Few and Kyle thinking. Ogwin takes a nice pixel brush. Turtle at half health.
Should be a free one now with lethal counter. Perfect calculation as the mid lane gets shoved in by Deck. Despite dying in the first few minutes of the game, Kyle TZ is still up 1 level. He's trying to make it 2 levels right now. That's a final slash. Brings Sagitnu back. Few with a good snipe down. Kyle TZ has a lethal counter. Sagitnu should fall here, but he's not in range just yet. That's the vengeance. 1 more is all he needs, but he wants to give it to Kyle TZ, who picks it up a bit risky there. They really want to snowball forward, but here you can already see Brent already has an 84% chance of winning. Deck, he's going to lose out on that one, and Kyle's still holding on to that lead. He wants everything in enemy jungle.
So this is his version of playing greedy, right? Like, again, I think that's what explains that attempted steal on the orange, is he was playing very greedy. And what's that led them to? Again, just a smorgasbord of items on this Balman, who is about 800 gold ahead currently of Deck. And I'm thinking about Deck here. Again, we mentioned how if he's not snowballing, if he's not decimating on decimating on decimating, what do they expect to do? And I don't think there's enough burst from Bleed to do that.
Not enough burst at all from Bleed, but looking at the other side, there's a lot of burst on Brent that actually works. And I want to give props to Super Marco here because he understands completely what made or what makes Brody really hard to execute in this patch. The steel leg plates and the buff to the Dreadnought armor, anti-Cuirass, is really what kind of stomps Brody and why we really didn't even think about the Brody.
Yep.
The fact that he went for the Fury Hammer straight to the Malefic Roar really gives him a lot to say in this game. And look at his emblem. I didn't actually realize this. JPL with a good hook. That's a Bloody Hunt as well, but it should not be a kill. Ogwen should be able to disengage. Lethal counter. Almost taking JPL down. Ogwen forced to flicker out a snipe. Ogwen with a sidestep. And now it's just FMM swapping weapons. But back to my point. Malefic Roar, Fury Hammer, double pen, and weapon mastery.
Yep, and again, by going with early Malefic Roar, you're going to see increasing returns. And so far, I'm sure there are like a couple of content creators and analysts out there who have done the math. The earlier you get it, the better, especially when you want to snowball, when you want to stop your opponents from getting much burst. FMM! How's the pickoff? Brenny Sports, just one. Just one down bottom. What do you want down bottom? Everything.
Yeah, everything, and the turret too. This 6-minute turret take is going to be quite massive because it enables Super Marco to rotate across the map and transition and convert on that lead even more. And you can see the Malefic Roar did so much with the Fury Hammer too.
So good.
Steel leg plates for FMM. That's what you go for when you're up against a Brody, up against a bully in lane. But when you go for Malefic Roar first item, steel leg plates has no impact.
It's a wash, man. You wear pants, it goes right through it. And what's beautiful about what Super Marco did here is he has the Fury Hammer and then a couple of Legion Swords. Now it's up to him. The world is his oyster. He can build whatever he wants from there. If he sees more pants, then he adjusts Hunter Strike. If he doesn't and he sees that maybe Bleed is getting a little greedy, Blade of Despair. I'm all for it. And now, so far, Bleed are just, again, trying to stop the bleeding. They know that bottom lane has permanent damage, not going to be as clear for FMM to farm from. Good news, though, FMM is farming up quite a bit, despite that early death, despite being 0, 1, and 0. Now, looking elsewhere, I'm not so sure if this is the right move, because FMM didn't rotate either. It's just as dangerous down bottom, even if you do send a couple of mid laners.
It's going to be very hard. I mean, catching an Arlet, especially an Arlet that has a lead, you know, it's just going to be very, very hard. Super Marco as well here, you saw that he already completed the BOD in the 8th minute of the game with a Melphic Roar.
Oh.
Usually, you complete your BOD because you go for Fury Hammer first and then BOD. The fact that he's able to do that, Melphic to BOD in the 8th minute, that's the time span as to usually when you get just Fury Hammer and BOD. Just a small little item, but it seems like for Bren, they're not just penetrating leg plates, they're also penetrating the enemy jungle.
Yep, and given the situation, Bren Sports have mounted themselves onto a position wherein they can call the shots. Again, very similar to game 1. Not for the lack of vision from Bleed this time around, but wait, that was a possible engage. And here's the thing, we haven't even seen the Minotaur do much.
Oh my god, Leo. When you see Super Marco's first skill, when the fact that Super Marco's first skill can take the whole Cult Alter HP, it is already disastrous for Bleed. And that's just the power spike. The fact that Brody has this big of a lead in the 8th minute of the game, you can expect these objectives to just go down, especially with the lethal counter with a Balman on that Demon Slayer as well. There's not much you can do when you're Bleed right now. You can just wait as you get suffocated.
And so far, in the past 8-9 minutes, Super Marco has been a major cause for Bleed's problems, right? That's blocking them from even thinking about Game 3. And he hasn't even died yet. Even if, let's say, Bleed can mount a comeback and try to stop Super Marco, where's it going to come from? Sagitnu from a weird angle? A hook from JPL? Again, Deck, I'm not sure what he has to do here. As a frontliner, maybe go for a disengage, look for this. Sagitnu with a jump in.
They have good pill, and man, they have good mechanics too. Just easily sidestepping through JPL's Iron Hook. And I don't know if you paid attention to this, Leo, but I want everyone to see how much damage Super Marco does with one hit on the turret. He took that turret down with 2 hits, and it was half HP, right?